Welcome guys! It's been a while since I've made a video like this, mostly due to me changing my stream schedule completely, meaning I no longer stream in the evening but instead during the day. And then as a result I'm also streaming longer, having less time to make videos. I did this to be able to spend more time with my family and it's been great. But this video is one that will answer a very common question I get: how do you get better at PUBG? I will tell you what I think is the fastest way to get good at the game and how to get the most out of the time you spend to be able to catch up with the many veterans you'll run into when you drop into the battlegrounds. The first advice I'll give you is, as you probably expected, to play Team Deathmatch. This is where you rapidly can improve your aim, recoil control, and movement. When you play this, I recommend playing aggressively. Holding back is not the way here. Get in there and play it hard. Because while you do move around a lot in TDM when you play aggressively, at the same time you should be focusing on your movement. And here especially I'm thinking about two things. One, always go in crouch when you shoot people, unless it would otherwise block your line of sight. This is because crouching reduces recoil by around 15% depending on the weapon. So it's almost like adding an extra compensator to your gun. And two, focus on your leaning. Leaning is a huge thing in PUBG, and it matters far more than I wish it did. The fact is that leaning out from cover is insanely strong, as it'll make you far harder to hit, but also being a wiggle boy in the open by leaning left and right during a spray. This just works so well because the enemy will have a harder chance landing a precision headshot. Another thing I recommend that you practice here is quick leaning to get information. Quickly leaning out from cover will get you that safe information in FPP, and it will also potentially bait shots from enemies, causing them to give up their position. In TPP, the same technique can be used to make people move out from their cover and try to shoot you. Thereby, you'll be able to see where they are. Movement practice in TDM will also include trying to dodge bullets by doing a combination of rapidly changing direction while moving around and crouching. This is something that I typically do when I need to reload or change weapon when I don't have cover and an enemy suddenly attacks me. Spending up to 30 minutes a day in TDM doing these things will help you a lot. And I know not everyone will be able to spend half an hour doing these things in TDM every day, and also it's probably gonna get rather boring. But my point here is also that I don't think you need to do it more. It is much better to do a little bit every day rather than doing 5 hours every Saturday, because much of what you're going to practice here is about getting into the habit of doing it. The last thing about movement I want to say is practicing your precision movement. Running into a wall or failing to quickly navigate a building and so on will often be the reason you lose a fight or miss an opportunity to get a kill in PUBG. It will also generally slow you down. So every game where you're just running around looting, try to practice not touching a single wall. Navigate the buildings perfectly, don't get stuck on any objects, and move your mouse smoothly and precise. This will help improving your precision movement and spatial awareness while you're just looting. A great way to get the most out of that time. Another thing you should practice when you're just looting is quick looting. This skill will tremendously help you if you end up in a loot battle early game where picking up the weapon first means winning the fight. If you right-click the first item and then drag the rest, you'll be able to instantly pick up multiple items at the same time. Definitely try to practice this during your looting too. The next advice is to generally do not hot drop if you want to improve fast. This does depend on your skill level though, as if you're already quite a good player, hot dropping can be a good thing to do. But generally, if you hot drop, you'll be fighting with barely any gear and your enemy won't really have anything either. It's also extremely RNG based and you'll lose a lot of fights simply because you got a bit unlucky with loot. Shooting players who are helpless because you picked up the gun first is fun, but it won't really improve your skills as a PUBG player. So what I recommend is that you instead drop into locations with a maximum of 3 to 4 enemies, depending on the size of the compound. Just make sure that you'll be able to fight with a bit of loot, and make sure that you're not just shooting enemies who are trying to find a gun. If you do this, then your early game combat will look a lot more like mid-game combat, which will increase the value of your praxis. Next, I want to talk about your playstyle. Should you play aggressively or passively? Some people say you need to play very aggressively and take every single fight to get the most combat experience. And while this does make sense in theory, the problem is that in a battle royale, you'll be sent back to the lobby with every single loss. And also, this is not just a shooter, this is as much a survival game as it is a shooter. I recommend a balanced playstyle where you fight when you fight and flee when you flee. What I mean by this is that when you're forced into a fight, take it. Don't fear it. Hiding from a player that is looking for a fight will very often put you at a disadvantage because you let that player move around freely and you'll either lose an important tactical position or lose sight of your enemy. Take the fight and use what you're practicing. Good weapon control, crouching while shooting, leaning, and precise movements. This is really all you can do, and this is where you will improve the most in your battle royale fights. Sometimes playing passively or running away is also a completely fair thing to do. If you feel at too much of a disadvantage, then surviving to fight another time is completely okay, because you also need to make sure that you sometimes end up in the top 20 or even top 10. Because again, depending on your skill, you're likely feeling the nerves and adrenaline affecting your gameplay in the end game. And this is why playing passively until you get to the top 10 sometimes might be a good idea, because you need to shed the fear of that endgame. Being nervous and even afraid in most cases will just make you play worse. This leads me to my next advice, which is a way you can reduce the fear, lower the adrenaline, and get more focused during the intense situations, especially that of which you'll experience in the later circles. Because it's all in your head, and you can control it. The way you do this is by first of all making peace with potentially getting killed. So what if you get killed? You never lose in this game. You either win or you learn, and learning is an extremely valuable thing. So getting killed might even be a good thing, right? Secondly, what needs to be going on inside your head is all the stuff you've been practicing, your mechanics and your tactics. Look for good cover potential in the play area. Remember to focus on your movement and be ready to crouch, lean, dodge if needed. Know exactly what throwables you have at your disposal. Think about where you will throw a smoke if needed, and think about where the enemies could most likely be, and so on. Almost imagine that you're seeing yourself from the top and just do your best to make the right tactical decision while focusing on your mechanics, because that is really all you can do. But even if you do this, you won't entirely be able to be completely adrenaline free. And that's not the point either. Feeling the rush is part of what makes this game so fun. All you need to do is learn how to control it. And while you're not playing the game, there's also something you can do. I recommend getting inspiration from streamers and YouTubers, but you're probably already doing this since you're watching this video. It's always a great idea to get inspiration from someone else. However, do remember that most streamers play the game in a way that wouldn't work well for a new or an unskilled player. They often put themselves in bad situations intentionally to get that content out and have some crazy action. And often they can get away with it too because of their mechanical skill and game experience. Finally, I want to say that if you want to get good at anything, you need to practice. It's not like there is a magical way to suddenly get good at playing Pubg, for instance. But the way you get better fast is by using your time in-game the most optimally. And I hope this video gave you some inspiration on how to do that. If there's something you'd like me to go over in more detail, by all means let me know in the comments below. And also, don't forget to like the video if you liked it. And I'll see you guys next time.